WordPress. And also he is the director of web development WordPress-specific consultancy Z1.com. He's developed numerous high-profile websites used by UK government, educational sites, and today he's going to be discussing the little, almost unheard of WordPress, and hopefully showing you some of the things it's capable of doing. So please, a warm welcome for Mike.
I'm plugged in. Oh, something's happening. Yay! Cool. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about WordPress and how WordPress has grown up. Hopefully this will last about half an hour, but I can do a question and answer thing forever if I need to. So, I'm Mike Little, I introduced already, so I'm the WordPress Co-founder. I class myself as a WordPress specialist. I do 100% WordPress these days. If you need me, that's my personal site, that's my Twitter, that's my company site. So I'm going to start off a little bit about WordPress history. So WordPress started actually as a fork of a project called B2/CafeLog. Does anybody remember that website with that image on it? No? Oh, you're too young. Well, that was a piece of software that was used for blogging, small community around it, about 2,000 regular users, and the guy behind it disappeared from the net. I mean, literally disappeared, hadn't been around for weeks. People who knew him personally couldn't get in touch with him on his phone and things like that. Turns out in the end, nothing mysterious, but he'd been made redundant. He had to get his phone back in. I think he'd even gone like living back with his parents and they didn't have internet type of thing. But the real world intruded. In the meantime, a chap called Matt Mullenweg over in the States speculated about what he was going to do about the fact that this software was not being updated, there were known bugs, there were security issues. Even this domain, cafelog.com, was coming up for renewal. So we posted a blog post, and I commented on that and said, if you're serious about forking V2, count me in. I find out later, I mean literally just earlier this year, I discovered that actually I was the only person that responded to that blog post for more than a year. But that comment literally started what became WordPress. So it was conceived, that was January 2003, a long time ago now, and we got our first release out in May 2003. A friend of Matt's came up with the name WordPress. We fixed the bugs, we fixed security issues, and we added features. And released what was 0.7, carrying on from 0.63, I think was the last V2 version, in May 2003. Earlier this year we celebrated therefore the 10th anniversary of that first release, which is just astonishing. 10 years is an astonishing amount of time for something that was just a bit of a hobby thing. And in that time there's been 20 major releases. 0.7 the first one, and the current is 3.6, and there's a huge amount of things that have happened at that time. Some of the highlights along the way, 2004 version 1.2 included plugins for the first time. I should ask, who has used WordPress here? Oh good, that's alright. You do know what I'm talking about then, that's good. 2005 version 1.5 included pages and themes, so plugins came before themes, which some of you might not remember. 2007, 2.1 included widgets, which are really, really clever, make a big difference in using WordPress. 2010 version 3 merged WordPress MU, the multi-user version of WordPress, which lots of people don't particularly care about, don't particularly know about, but it's actually quite a significant change and enables certain things that were different. But WordPress is huge. From those humble beginnings, 2,000 people active users of B2. Just as an example, WordPress 3.5, the WordPress.org site has a download counter. And they reset it every time there's a major release. So 3.5 is the previous major release. There were 21 million downloads of that version. The current one, which came out second week of August, I think, 3.6, there's already been 8 million downloads. Currently, Automatic estimate is about 70 million WordPress sites. That screenshot was taken last night. Really else this morning, actually. Yes, 70 million WordPress sites, and that's just WordPress installations. That doesn't include ones that have multiple sites on them using WordPress's multi-site capability. It doesn't include things like WP Edu, which is a WordPress multi-site that has over 1 million sites on it. That just counts as one. WordPress.com itself, technically, with its 35 million sites, is actually one WordPress installation, but they do count that as 35 million or whatever the numbers are now. 19.9% of the top 10 million websites use WordPress. That is 1 in 5 sites on the web is served from WordPress. That's an astonishing figure for something that started as a hobby 10 years ago. And really, yeah, the top 10 million most popular sites is the whole internet. Honestly, the rest of it's just nothing. And as a content management system, that's a 58% market share. So all the others, and we're not just talking open source, we're talking paid, we're talking, what's that horrible Microsoft thing with sharing the name? Point. We're talking SharePoint, we're talking Joomla, Drupal, all those together do not add up to, clearly, the 58% that WordPress owns of that market. And a statistic that's a year or more old now, but of all the domains registered in the US that have a site put on them, 22% have put WordPress on them, which again is just an astonishing figure. And 52%, well actually just 52, of the top 100 blogs, that's the 100 most popular blogs on the whole internet, 52 of them now use WordPress, which again is just astonishing figures. And it's not bad for something we give away for free. One of the reasons that WordPress is so big and so successful is the fact that actually it's licensed under the GNU GPL, the GNU General Public License, which is not quite the same as open source. They're very similar, but there are certain things about the GPL and other free licenses that are a little bit different. So the GPL is, it uses a thing called copyleft, which is a play on words of copyright, but it's a legal hack. It uses the copyright law to give users freedoms in exchange for developers' rights. Something that I believe passionately in then, and I still believe in now. It gives 4 freedoms. I'm going to whiz through them really, really quick. Freedom to run the program for any purpose. So you can't say you're not allowed to use it for bad things. You're not allowed to use it for... There used to be a time when free programs used to say you can't use it for the military because we don't like the military, so you can't use the free program, you've got to pay for it. Or you can't use it for business because we think everything should be free. So GPL doesn't have any of those restrictions. You genuinely should be free to use it for any purpose. The freedom to study how the program works, that means that you can figure out how it works, you can learn from it, you can change it so that it can do what you need to do, you can modify it in a way. Of course, you need the access to the source codes or a pre-requirement of that. Freedom to distribute copies so you can help your neighbour, you can give it away to people, you can charge people for it as well actually, which I'll talk about later, but you must be free to give it away to somebody, you can't have any restrictions on that. And the freedom to distribute copies of your modified version. Some free software won't let you distribute modified copies, and again, that means that the improvements that you might make as a superstar coder, that some of you out there I'm sure are, can't be distributed to other people. It's very important. And it's something that not a lot of developers genuinely get their heads around. It's about users' freedoms. And it's one of the reasons why WordPress is so successful. So it's free as in freedom, not free as in free pizza, not free beer is the other phrase. So it is, as I mentioned, perfectly okay to sell GPL software, to make money from GPL software. Nothing wrong with that, as long as you don't take away those users' freedoms. So, making money, how do you make money from WordPress? I'm sure some of you in the room already know. You can sell themes, or better is to sell support and updates of those themes. You can sell plugins, you can sell services, you can sell hosting, development, training. I do some of those things. You can write books. There are all kinds of things that you can do to make money from WordPress or any open source project. And some people are very, very successful at it. There's an estimate that this is now a multi-billion-dollar industry around WordPress. Again, astonishing figures. The big boys, Automatic, yeah, they're the company behind WordPress.com. Matt Mullenweg's company, the other co-founder with me. They do VIP WordPress hosting service for people like Wall Street Journal, NASA, and so on. They have a lot of other stuff around that as well, some of it free, some of it paid. Started 2005, tail end of 2005, with about 170, 180 employees. Turnover, apparently, it's hard to find the figures, $45 to $60 million a year turnover. And they just recently raised $50 million by selling literally a few shares from some of the early employees. I just don't want to know what those numbers are. WooThemes, provider of themes and plugins, 28 employees, turning over $2 to $4 million a year. Some of these estimates are real estimates that I made up based on quoted customer figures and the prices to buy their stuff or to subscribe to their services and so on. So they are made up figures. But they're not too far out. Rocket Genius, they just have one WordPress plugin with a few add-ons, but 5 to 10 employees, $3 to $4 million they're turning over. WP Engine, they do WordPress hosting, $1 to $2 million. They've just received $1.2 million funding from Automatic, as it happens. Yeah, 45 employees they've got. Envato, they're a marketplace. You've heard of ThemeForest, I'm sure, and lots of other equivalents, WP Toots and things like that. They do more than WordPress stuff, but WordPress is their main thing. Their turnover is only about $1 million a year because they just skim a bit off the top of all those sales. But apparently one of their sellers has just surpassed $1 million worth of products. That's a WordPress theme and plugin author selling his stuff on ThemeForest, or whatever the plugin thing's called, has just turned over $1 million. Again, astonishing figures. And then lots of the little people, tens of thousands of freelancers, 44,000 registered WordPress developers on Elance alone. Lots of small design companies, SEO marketing companies, web development companies, little companies like me, I'm only one man really, and all are contributing to this economy, all people making things out of WordPress. It really has grown up because it's supporting, WordPress is supporting this kind of economy. Some major users, I've mentioned some of them already, but General Motors, UPS, eBay, Sony, very American this, Giga-On, TechCrunch, so some technology places there. Famous blogs, Boing Boing, I don't know how many millions of users a day that they have, Mashable, places like that. Music, Rolling Stones, Jay-Z, you should check out Jay-Z's site, it's really interesting use of WordPress. Katy Perry, Usain Bolt, people like that. The news, the media, are really, really hot on WordPress. New York Times, CNN, Forbes, Reuters, Maclean's, in this country, The Telegraph, Metro just converted everything, all their web properties are now WordPress, really, really huge. Stephen Fry, very, very popular blog. Who else we've got? Top Gear, amazing, because the BBC generally tend to use in-house software for everything, and they do for all their main blogs, but these guys managed to get themselves a WordPress blog. They're the only ones that I know of on the BBC that use a WordPress, but, have I got it on here? Yeah, BBC America use WordPress for all their properties, and they have a lot of properties, and they use WordPress for all that, so that's good. Rolling Stones I talked about before, this relaunch for the 50th anniversary, absolutely huge. A couple of mates of mine helped build that site, really, really good. So there's just loads of big people using it. I'm sure there's many, many more.